Okay, I was down in the woods right there. My battery died. I came up here, got a new one, and I forgot all about this. I'll go over this real briefly. This has some Canadian rye and bottlebrush grass. You could barely see the bottlebrush grass, but I'll get down in here because it's lost its seeds. But this is bottlebrush grass, and the seeds go straight out to the sides, and it's reseeding itself really well. I was going to do one thing with this area. This stuff grows really well under a tree, and we have this big walnut here, so this will probably stay. Everything that way in the spring, I'm just going to burn that area, and I'm going to keep killing the weeds until probably the end of June, and I'm just going to plant little blue stem over there, and then I'll go back and forth and battle with the grassy weeds for a while on that. But what I wanted to look at in here, I planted that wavy hair grass. I think I'm standing on it. It's right in this area somewhere. It did not do well. Yeah, I probably won't be able to see it. Okay, it can't be doing very well because I don't see anything anywhere. We'll have to revisit that in the spring and possibly try again. I can't find seeds for it, and the plugs are pretty expensive, so I don't know how much of that I'm going to do. And that kind of likes shady areas as well, and it's a native grass, so I might have some growing here in the woods already. Another one of the bur oaks. I'm going to be doing a year-end video on these as well, these and the bigger ones. I'm going to measure their heights. I'm going to caliper the stems to see how thick around the stems are, and I'm going to put protectors on some of them. I will likely protect that one because rabbits will live right in this area, and they'll probably chew that one completely up if I don't protect it. There's another one right in there that I'll protect as well. Okay, we were here earlier. Natalie and I cleared this area this spring. It's grown up a bit, but not that much. I'll hack this out again next year, and I'll start planting here. I didn't plant anything this year. So this is basically just bare woods that has had all the little trees taken out, and I've yet to burn them. This area was planted with the nurse grass, and I believe I threw some other seeds in here, but I'm not quite sure. Oh yes, I absolutely did, and that was 2 years ago, but I don't see anything growing except for that stuff, and I have no idea what that is. This is all perennial rye, and that whole hillside is buffalo grass underneath that foxtail. Next year I'm going to have to burn that whole thing and then go in with tenacity, generic tenacity, and spray that to keep the yellow foxtail from coming back. I'll probably have to do that for a couple of years to knock down the foxtail, and then once the buffalo grass is established, it should be able to handle itself. Like right here, we have all of this nurse grass and just one little spot of foxtail. And if I were on top of it and not working on all this other stuff, I would have just yanked that foxtail out during the middle of the year, and eventually it just goes away. It doesn't compete well with established grasses. This area is just going to have the one tree over there that I planted this year, one down there. Those are both bur oaks. This is a white oak right here. That's staying. The rest of this stuff is all hacked and squirted, and it should die this year, If it doesn't, it'll die next year, and I'm going to cut this stuff out next year. So this will be an open prairie next year with a few trees in it. Okay, this area right here is a mixed bag. Natalie and I came in here, well, mostly me on this area, and cleared like this triangle from that tree up there all the way down to the road down there, and then all the way back to the junction over here. It still has a bunch of little trees in it. I planted the nurse grass. I got rid of the vast majority of the small trees. I had a couple big fires right in there. But this is just nurse grass. I did not plant any prairie grasses in this area. This area right here is where I started the Oak Savanna project. The woods used to come up, it came up right to this tree right here. This was all woods down to the big trees down there. You could see the stumps that I took out. If you go to the Oak Savanna playlist, you can see me cutting all that stuff out. I see a bunch of prairie grasses in here, and I really haven't seen them before. That's big blue stem. This is some rye, Canada rye. Little blue stem here, good amount of it. Indian grass. Yeah, this stuff gets good sized late in the year. So early in the year, I can't tell what's what. And that's going to be a problem if I have to get in here and kill something out. But I'll figure that out. Yeah, there is actually a lot more prairie grasses in here than I was thinking. This, I don't know what this is. That is probably Timothy grass. I'll have to get rid of that. This is Virginia rye. That can stay. Yeah, that's little blue stem. At some point, these prairie grasses, like this little blue stem here, will outcompete and knock out this perennial rye here. Like I said earlier, the perennial rye is not a real strong grass. It's not going to be able to compete with the prairie grasses, and eventually the prairie grasses will take over. I really want to get buffalo grass in here as well. I don't want this to be really tall prairie grasses because that's a fire hazard right next to the house there. So I would kind of like a buffer in this area of buffalo grass. So I'm going to have to work on that next year. Canada rye. And again, I'm guessing this is Timothy. That's little blue stem. That's from this year. Doesn't have a seed head yet. First year little blue stem. Got like a purpley look to it. Just a late blooming Canada rye. Indian grass. All of these are going to be allowed to just go to seed right where they're at, and the seed that I collect from that front garden is going to be distributed back here as well. A little bit here, a little bit there. In this area, the little blue stem did not take off right away. It was just not growing at all. And then in the fall, I believe I planted oats back here. Yeah, I did plant oats back here. And then I think it was the next spring that I planted the perennial rye. And like that fall, I did not see any of these prairie grasses. You know, none of this blue stem and the other prairie grasses was here that next year. This is the first year that I'm actually seeing the prairie grasses in here. So, if you don't see it the first year, there's hope. This is Indian grass right here. And then we come to this stuff. This is all foxtail, and you could see it goes all around area where I burned. So once I get rid of this foxtail and get other stuff growing here, it's not going to come back. You could see there's no foxtail in this whole area. I hand pulled out the grasses that were here and there a couple years ago, and it just doesn't come back. It does not like established areas like that. It likes disturbed areas like this. So eventually the foxtail will be gone, and this will just be a restored oak savanna. I'd like to point out my hollow tree there. I do believe there's a woodpecker living in that, and that one right there is all rotten and full of bugs, and the woodpeckers are on that all the time eating. I try to leave stuff here and there where I can, but like these two dead birches, these got to come out next year, so I'll just be cutting them down. We're just on the other side of that little burn, and there's a good amount of little blue stem right here. This is all little blue stem. It doesn't take a huge amount of little blue stem plants to fill in an area, so I'm hoping that the seeds I toss at the end of this year, I'm hoping some more of them will take hold so this area fills in. Looks like we have a big blue stem up here. A lot of this stuff is from when I pulled out the foxtail. I did the weed and seed. This is knocked down from the snow, but nice purpley color. All right, we're gonna take a quick look at this stuff and then go to the last prairie patch and then call it a day. Very, very long video. I planted some drop seed. They were actual little plants right in this corner area, and then this foxtail took over, and they're probably under there. So I'm gonna have to look for those in the spring when I come and burn this stuff out. Same with this corner. I planted some drop seed right in the corner, and then this got taken over by foxtail as well. The foxtail took over here as well, but that shouldn't be a thing for too much longer. Some Canada rye right there. And we are in Bigfoot Prairie, named after the Bigfoot oak right there. And I've showed this before. This has tons of stuff in it. That's all little blue stem right there. We got a bunch of Canada rye right here. Little blue stem. Yeah, it's not a solid patch. None of them are. But as the foxtail goes away and the perennial rye starts dying off, they should be real nice pure stands of blue stem and other grasses. This has blue stem in it, but I don't know what this other stuff is. So this area has some various prairie grasses, a whole lot of the perennial rye, and other grasses mixed in. It's getting there. After a few years, this is going to be a mostly native grass area with the big oaks like that and a few other trees that are a bit smaller like this, but will take the place of those when they die. Really nice looking. All right, let's take a look at this mess up here and then wrap this up. I'm not seeing any native prairie grasses in here. This is foxtail. That is perennial rye. Yeah, giant foxtail. Oh, this is Virginia rye right here. So there's a little bit in here. So this coming spring, I gotta burn this again, which is kind of difficult because it's right up against the barn. Kind of scary burning it last year. I'm gonna end up planting buffalo grass as a shield right near the barn. But this has got to be burned and definitely seeded again this coming spring. Well, I'm going to do it this fall as well. There are some more grasses planted along the road over there, but I don't think any of the prairie grasses have taken yet, so I'm not even going to go over there. Next year should be better over there. So that's going to wrap up this extremely long video. I'm guessing I'm going to have to cut this in 2 parts. The only other thing I'm going to show with this prairie grasses is a bit later in the year, probably a month and a half, I'm going to go through and get the seeds off of as much of this stuff as possible. So I'll show that seed harvesting, and then that should be it for the grasses until I start seeds in the greenhouse for next year. So if you want to see that stuff, make sure you subscribe and click on the update icon. If you have any questions or comments, make sure you put them in the comment section below. And if you share the video and or give it a like, it helps the channel out greatly. Thanks for watching and have a great day.